the BOP, the BLERD official podcast. We are so excited that you are here. We have got some hot topics for you today. Oh my goodness. It is crazy. Hello, I got to get my co-host in here. Hilton George, how are you, my friend? How is it going?
Listen, we've been away just a few days, and then the world has turned upside down. There's so much going on out here.
Upside down.
I don't know if we got enough time. The BOP we might have to add another P at the end.
Ooh,
just to go to fit everything in. I'm excited. I'm thrilled. Y'all the ones I want to talk to about this stuff.
I know. Okay, let's just to be transparent. We took a few weeks off. It was great, but we are back, and of course, the whole world came crumbling down.
Right.
Thus, the beautiful outfit of our co-host, Miss Christi Renee.
Here.
Man, the Gilead is upon us.
I'm here.
My goodness!
I've got my bonnet.
It is so fitting. So fitting. For this whole craziness that we have been dealing with, you guys know, for a few weeks. Really, this has kind of been building.
They've been working on this a long time.
Yeah. Christi, how are you first? Before we jump into this, how are you?
I'm mortified. Thanks for having me. I mean, how do you
jump right in?
She's like, I can't even say hello.
Yeah, I'm just here in a terror state. I'm in Texas, guys. So it's really real. It hit me last night when I saw the leak, and it's just been a lot. So I know we're gonna get to it, but I'm a mix of emotions. I'm a lot of things right now, but I am here, and I'm resisting. So that's me.
Well, to jump right in, there is no reason to hold off this conversation.
Let's get to
As you all know, it was leaked. It was leaked to Politico that the Supreme Court has drafted drafted basically the overturning of Roe versus Wade, and basically just overturning anything that is remotely connected to abortion rights, women's rights, human rights. I mean, if you want to, we got to look at this on a broader scale. And we knew this was coming, though. This is the thing that a lot of people were on social media today, and they were like, I'm shocked. And I'm like, how are you shocked? I honestly and truly believe that we always have to look at politics in a much bigger, they're going to give you things to kind of make you think that this is what it is, but there is always an underlying agenda. There is always something that is there. There's a reason they do this, because they want to get to this.
There's more to come.
There's more to come. And, we knew, I always said, I always felt like the last guy, the crazy one, the orange one, when he was elected president, I always knew that it was never really about him. He was just the mouthpiece. He was just the face of this terror that they are trying to impose on all of us. And it's a rippled effect. I think there are a good majority of people who are like, well, why do I care? I would never do that. Spiritually, I don't believe in abortion. I don't believe in, that law. And it's not a matter of you believing in the law. It's the repercussions of something like this and laws like this being imposed. It's the repercussions. And I found a quote online. One of my favorites, Robert Reich, who is a political analyst, he broke it down, probably the best that I'd read. I'd literally, me, I start scouring the internet, trying to get different opinions. And I just am like, it always helps me gather my thoughts. But he goes, being forced to carry an unwanted pregnancy to term means families are 4 times more likely to live below the poverty line.
Yep.
Parents are 3 times less likely to have full-time work. Parents are 6 times more likely to receive public assistance. Abortion bans aren't pro-life. They're pro-poverty.
Yep.
So what this is an attack on the middle class and lower class individuals. So if you are not filthy rich, or if you are not a part of an upper class, this is an attack on your own livelihood, because these things are going to affect your taxes. It's going to affect your jobs. It's going to affect everything. It's a ripple effect. It's not even about pro-life, because if conservatives were really pro-life, they would let us have daycare. They would let us have after-school programs. They would let us have universal health care, because they wouldn't want us dying from things that are easily preventable. And so it's not about pro-life. Let's just put that on the table. You can email me if you're pissed. I don't care.
Right.
Because that's what I'll get, you know, because I just want to deal with the realistic reason that this is happening. So I'm going to go to both of you, because you guys know I could talk for 3 hours on this. It really upset me also. I was enraged. But this is the thing. It's a leak. It's a leak. We knew it was coming, though. We knew when Mitch McConnell started appointing all those judges, when they were dead set on getting those justices pushed through without the proper procedures. Yeah. We knew when they were chasing the Supreme Court what they were wanting to do. So, you know, we've got the warning that we need. So, Hilton, I'm going to go to you first, because you're probably the calmest out of the three of us.
Well, you know, here's the thing. I don't have a uterus, right? And I am never. I know, right? Shocking. That I will never have an abortion. I will never be faced with this choice of, you know, what I would decide to do with my body in the case of an unwanted pregnancy, or a pregnancy that might affect my health, or for whatever reason, I just don't want to be pregnant, and this is something that I don't want to do. You know, so on one hand, I'm one track over and I'm sort of observing. But since you said it right, this isn't just about, you know, abortion rights or even just healthcare rights. This is human rights. You know, and that's where I think a lot of people are going to get pulled into this discussion. Because there's a lot of folks that have been on the political sideline because they felt like this was something that was ensconced, you know, in law, and it's never going to change. And, you know, there's nothing at stake for me to vote because I don't like politicians, and politics is icky and disagreeable, and it's bad manners at the dinner table. So I am above it, and I don't have to get involved. And so first off, I would love to thank all of the people watching who voted and saved us from the overwhelming threat of Hillary's emails.
Oh my God!
That we owe you a debt of thanks for those 30,000 emails that could have, you know, whatever
jeopardize
reason,
all our safety.
Yes, we're making decisions based on who we like and who we would have a beer with and who we feel comfortable with in our home, and we forget that these are real consequences to political positions. And to your point, Karen, it's very true that pro-life is not pro-life. No. If anything at all, it's pro-life till birth. And then everything else you're on your own. You know, because I
after that.
Right. And I
don't even make sense.
I'm here in DC, so I love political debates probably more than anything. And I will tell a conservative to their face, like, look, I know you're not interested in whether or not 10,000 abortions happen tomorrow or 5, because you know there are things that you can do that would cut down on the number of abortions in this country other than a ban on abortions. That's, you know, things like, sex ed in middle school and high school, access to contraception, you know, making it a part of healthcare. So some of these contraceptive methods are covered under, you know, people's health insurance, and things like that prevent unwanted pregnancies, which then prevent unwanted births and unwanted abortions, right? So if the goal is to bring down the number of, if you consider them to be children, you know, being aborted, then those are the kinds of things that get incorporated into your philosophy. But what it typically ends up being, and we all know this to be true, is a group of elderly, powerful, rich white men who are making legislative decisions that affect the bodies of poor and mostly brown, Black, you know, Latino women, you know, and this is where the disconnect happens. And so one of the things I'm hoping will happen from this, if this goes through, because just like you said, this is a leak, but very rarely is there a draft opinion that does not. The draft opinion is basically like the draft of a book. And
Right.
if the book is gonna, if it's a right, if you're sending in a
novel is
draft
done.
copy of the novel, you know, if it's like book 3 of Game of Thrones, right, you can be pretty sure that this is going to be about dragons and the North and the Night's Watch, and no one can say no, it's just a draft. We're not guaranteeing there'll be Night Walkers and all this stuff in it. The draft opinion is basically saying this is what we all think. This is how we're all going to vote. We're just looking for the legal way of saying it, so when the opinion comes out, it'll be bulletproof. And it'll be a legal document that can stand.
They've been doing work.
So this is not a draft in the same way that we draft an email or the way we might draft a love letter.
They're not going to replace a comma with a colon. You know,
exactly. This is what is going to happen, and it's just a matter of when. The actual decision may not come out till June, but we know what is going to happen. And when it happens, there's a whole generation of people who did not have a cause to get into elections. The previous generation to ours had Vietnam, they had, the war on drugs, they had, abortion, suffrage, women's rights. All of these things happened in the 60s and 70s that got them into this and realized what was at stake. The generations that came up in the 80s and 90s, they didn't have any of that. So now they got something. And maybe this will activate some people on the left who should have been voting and should have been more proactive now that they realize what is at stake.
Right.
But this is kind of a done deal. They're not going to reverse the count. The count is what it is.
Yeah.
And unless something drastic happens.
Yeah.
Right. Unless something drastic happens between now and the time they render their decision, this is going to happen this summer. And people just need to. I'm happy. Whoever leaked it, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Whoever you are, even if you go to jail, I'm gonna. If there's a
they
fund
get the award,
they
get the bear.
You get the Boogie of the Bear award.
You get the Boogie of the Bear award
for leaking
because now we have a chance to digest this, and process this as a country,
and
prepare for my sister. My sister Christi up here has got. She's got to get her Handmaid's Tale stuff together. She's got a voice that she's gonna. We got to get her blood pressure right. We got to prepare. Yes. We got to make it happen. So that's where I start off on this issue.
Yes. Well, Christi, I'm going to bring you in because, girl, I know, but I wanted to read a couple more, just some overall opinions that have been online that I thought were very, very poignant, very to the point. And Andrea Renee says, to be clear, overturning Roe isn't about protecting human life. Conservatives want nothing to do with the mother of their babies, their medical care, their education, feeding them, or anything about their existence. This is about control.
Yep.
Point blank, period. Ilhan Omar, she said, so the Republican Party supports forcing women to give birth against their will, but opposes providing childcare, paid leave, or health care. Got it. I mean, you got to think about this. This is like, if you think it's just about some people who are religious and they're like, this goes against every moral of my being, that is not what this is. That's what they're standing behind. That's the shield that many wars, many things have always been behind. Like, you think about slavery, the people who were slave owners were highly religious people, and they were like, the God, wants us to be in charge. Like, it is always, religion has always been used as a weapon. And so this isn't a moral decision. This isn't something this is something to basically, make people poor and keep people in their place.
People poor.
Yes. Keep people poor, make people poor, and keep them in their place. It's about control. Christi, you got the mic, girl. Let me get comfortable. I need my popcorn because this is like a freaking horror film.
It is. And honestly, I'm gonna say, there's a show out. What is it? 2-word horror story, something like that. And here's a one phrase. And I said this morning in discussion at home. And I immediately saw that last night. And the first thing I could think about is I have a daughter. Yesterday, she turned 17. And all I could think was, my daughter in 2022 now has less rights than my grandmother, my mother did. Less rights.
And you.
Less rights in 2022. I've been fortunate enough to be covered in that. I mean, I'm a 70s baby. So from 73, I mean, that's how long we had. Now that has changed. Everything about that has changed. I've been fortunate. Ain't having no more babies. So I've been covered, but now
Mitch McConnell.
She's going back before my time and less rights. So it's hard to process. Like, my heart races. Y'all made fun of me because I'm always talking about, I'm always a hashtag.
No, we believe it.
Hashtag Gilead. Y'all better get ready.
I believe. No, I was like, that's why I can't watch that show, because it is so.
But we have to.
Like,
I'm gonna tell you why.
I agree.
It hits home. It hits the heart. It hits you in your gut, in your
so
soul.
Deeply disturbing.
It'll rip you to
real.
shreds. But what you do is you get to see. And they're so in tune. And I know they're filming season 5 now. They're going to start making some shifts and they're following our real life. Yeah. And so, because this goes far beyond the book, right? So they've expanded the book incredibly. And now it's following, kind of based on, again, what we're doing, but they're still ahead of us. But the point is, it's so important to see these harsh realities and these horrors illustrated, because a lot of times people don't want, you talk about those 80s, 90s, 2000s kids, and they built very different. And they the apathy sucks. And whenever I'm speaking to somebody, and I've learned now, I go the other way. When somebody tells me, I don't talk about politics. Because we can't talk. I can't relate to you. I can't communicate with you. And I'm frightened. When I said I'm mortified, I'm mortified. I'm not surprised. I've always seen things coming, and there's much more to come. Where we stand now, this is a precursor to the other things that are going to be under attack: same-sex marriage, interracial marriage, just all the big cases.
All of it.
Education.
They're on a mission,
and this is the beginning of the end before a new beginning. So, I mean, there's the hope in that. I try to have some sliver of hope, because we're all going to have to redefine what our realities are going to be post. Can
I jump in here? Because you said the word, Christi. You said hope. There is a sliver of hope. Like, it's sitting right here in the middle of all this muck, is that the midterms are coming up.
Yes.
And if this leak had not come out to activate the Democratic base, we could be, and I think this will affect the election. Yes. I think that there's going to be people who come out who are going to have to draw back from this decision. Like, wait a minute, what does this decision mean? How did we get here? Well, this is how the process of putting Supreme Court judges works. This is how electing state legislatures work, because they're not talking about revoking, a Roe v. Wade per se, other than taking it back down to the states. And I think there's like 17 states that have laws that are automatically going to kick in
22.
And ban abortion. 22 that are going to ban abortion the minute the Roe v. Wade is turned over, so that when you kick it back to the states, it immediately becomes illegal. And so I think there's going to be some folks that might not have been engaged in what is historically supposed to be an election where the party in the White House loses seats in the Senate and in the House. This might be something that actually activates some folks to think, oh, wait, an off-year election, I need to be involved. I need to get informed. And this could be the fire that gets lit under people's butts to turn the ship around.
Well, let's also consider the last election, the last 2 elections, big general elections. First of all, we listen. I'm a ride or die. I vote. I'm a Black woman who votes, a Black mother who votes, a Black business owner who votes. And I know what side of the fence I stand on. There's no question about me. I know how I was raised, all of that kind of stuff. And I believe in that. I believe in people. I believe in diversity. I believe in all of that good stuff. But if we look at the numbers, we give certain victories, especially this last election, to Black women showed out, right?
Amen.
But we got to consider the flip side. The flip side is so many white women voted for that other.
Yeah. That other
And
guy.
that's the part. So I think where we are right now is that now they're going to have to find the line of division where, because poor white women who voted for Trump,
there's so many of them.
Y'all are the ones now that are going to
your
change.
Life.
It's your moment. It's your moment, sis. To step up and make this thing and really, but again, it's still frightening because it's like, this is just one thing, because that's going to affect them. It's affecting them right now. I know people. I know some poor white women who, girls, even
die hard,
who are having kids because they can't afford to travel 400 miles away to find, because now there's nothing around them. And this was a year ago. So now here we are in present day, and it's coming down the pike fast. It's, they're not wasting any time.
Yeah. You know what I hope, I don't know, but it seems like I've always said this, like, I feel like this conservative, Trumpy, crazy, these are radicals, in my opinion. They're not even a party. They're a group of radically rich men, dangerously rich men who want to control and feel their control is threatened. And they have been energized ever since Barack Obama, and it has just gotten worse. The monster has gotten bigger and bigger. And but I always feel like if Democrats are who it is kind of the party that's like, we're going to go against this. I just always feel like I don't understand why Democrats keep playing checkers when this monster is playing chess. And we knew this was coming. We saw this is coming. I don't understand why we haven't got rid of the filibuster. I don't understand why we have not, used our full power, in order to control the Senate and Congress while we have it. And make this, they have the ability to make the Supreme Court larger. They have the ability to try to pass laws so that their terms aren't lifetime terms. They have the ability to try to make it more diverse, because they just have too much power. Nothing should have this much power. No one should be able to draft anything in the middle of the night and it just so happened to get leaked by whoever this hero is who leaked it, and be able to change so many lives just because they can, and that's what angers me about this country. We've always had radical, political thinking and radical political, and that's kind of the sad part about our country, is that there's always that fringe group has always been loud, and they've always been, resourceful.
Yeah, Karen, it's not just this country. This is just the way humanity has worked for centuries.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
If you look, I mean, I know it's always a red herring to throw Nazi Germany into any discussion, but it is a part of history, and it plays a role in this.
Yeah.
Let me remind anyone who doesn't know, Hitler was elected. Democratically elected, and he didn't just pop up on the scene. He built a party that started with this grassroots, and he built he didn't start off by saying, hey, we're going to gas the Jews. He started off on little, hey, nationalism. Hey, we were shamed in World War I. Hey, look at these immigrants doing this. Hey, look what the world did to our country. And they didn't have a Marshall Plan like they did after World War II. So when they bombed the hell out of Germany, when the Kaiser was in charge, and I'm going into history, I'm sorry. They did not go in and fix the problem. They didn't rebuild the streets and the roads and the bridges and the pipelines and all this stuff. And they left Germany in shambles. So when they did that, they had this whole generation of people who survived World War I who were mad at the world. And this man jumped in front of it, just like Trump did. And he just slowly steered the battleship toward this. And then by the time people realized that this guy was crazy, and this was not just some party where people say crazy stuff and don't do crazy things, people were on trains going to concentration camps, right?
It was too
late. And so if anybody is watching this and looking at my sister Christi and say, oh, she's over the top, wearing this red shawl and invoking, I'm like, listen, we are, one or two bad elections away from where, we've been in history 7 or 8 times as globally, not just in America. And so to your point, the thing is that you have this whole generation of people that don't understand civics. And so they don't understand how elections work. They don't know how economics work.
They
don't understand how government works. And that's why at the state level, they're getting rid of books that will tell you about history and will tell you about civics.
Because they
want to
keep
tell
you
about this. They want to keep you nice,
but
and
it's
dumb,
still a
and
requirement.
angry and poor. And so what's happened is that you got all of these people out here who don't understand civics, who look at, like, for instance, like, to your question, why can't we get rid of the filibuster? There's 2 senators representing states that between the 2 of them don't have as many people as the city of New York and DC combined. 2 whole states that are stopping the whole show for no reason whatsoever. And because they're pivotal seats, there's nothing we can do.
They're not on the side of the people.
No, they're
that is because the Democratic Party is a broad tent. And that tent includes people who are on I don't even consider, like, if you want to talk about the fringe on the left side, there's fringes closer to the right that they call them corporate Democrats. That means they're bought and sold by industry and special interests. They just happen to be in the Democratic caucus, and they know that they're pivotal. All they got to do is call in one day and go, "Hey, I want to change my letter from a D to a R and change and shift the whole power structure for the next 4 years." So they know that nobody's going to mess with them, and they know that nobody's going to primary them. So they can take that money and they can do what they want, and then they're beholden to anybody. So the point is that when you talk about what do you do in this next election, you think about who's going to be your state representative, who are you voting for senator, what do they stand for? You know, what party are they going to support? Forget about if you like that individual as a person and think they're sane. If they're going to support Mitch McConnell as the leader of the Senate, that's going to hurt the country. And we have to think that, and that's chess. And that's chess. When we talk about playing checkers, is that I'm watching this commercial. Yeah, I kind of like that guy. He looks like somebody I'd have a beer with. I don't want to have a beer with my son.
No, you're never going to have a chance to have a beer with him.
I don't want him to be somebody I'd want to have a beer with. If you're somebody I'd want to have a beer with, you're automatically disqualified for being president. I'm sorry. Love Barack Obama. Never wanted to have a beer with him. Never said that was somebody I wanted to hang out with. Never said that was somebody I wish was my neighbor. I said that guy should be running the country and nothing else. And
he was smart enough and qualified enough to know how to do that. And that's the thing. He never got credit. Like, when he got handed the keys to the United States, we were in the worst recession. We were
always the case, Karen.
Yes,
always the case.
Bush had depleted us. The Clinton years, everybody was making money in the Clinton years. We all had jobs. We all had things to do.
People forget.
Bush depleted us. He robbed this country blind. He created a fake war so they could go over there and make billions. And they did it. They did it. They made so much money in Afghanistan and they made so much money in the Middle East. And there were no weapons of mass destruction. It was all lies because they knew they could go over there and they could just make so much money. And that's all that was about. It was a farce. And the financial divide was the haves and the have-nots. And it just, I mean, the middle class was almost depleted under Bush.
We're still at, there is no middle class.
There is because all of us, even people who have a great job, even people who have, are doing well, and you're like, wow, I'm making the money that I always dreamt of making 5-10 years ago, but now everything costs more money. Yeah. So it's like you're only a few checks away from poverty. Like,
Karen, I'm gonna tell you,
if you're not already in there.
From one business owner to the next. I remember when we first came into the Obama years as an LLC, as a business owner, man, I was able to take so many tax breaks and there was so many incentives. It just made it so easy for me to grow the business into what I have today. Today, if I had to start a business, I pay more taxes owning a business, having an LLC, than if I just decided to just go, okay, I'm gonna go work and collect my, X amount of 5 figures, and I'm just gonna sit back and deal in cash or not at all.
Right.
That you get more money just for staying in your lane and not trying to grow a business.
Yeah.
Now than you
not becoming too successful.
Right. I'm paying like 30-40% off of everything that I make and barely make. And then I'm watching, billionaires not paying nothing. And I'm sitting there like the math.
Nothing.
Don't add up.
Math ain't nothing.
Like why I got to go through all this stuff? I'm not getting no refund. I got to pay more to get my taxes done then I'm getting out of my tax.
I'm mad. Yep. I've delayed my whole process for that right there.
H&R block my money.
Yeah, look, and wait, and watch this.
Right.
And TurboTax ain't even free no more. Like you can't, it's a mess.
Man.
If you're a small business.
Talk to them, Chris.
Yeah,
it ain't free no more.
They charging micro businesses $120 to file your taxes. That is, it's just, but again, it's designed that way. It's
designed this way.
If there is too much success, and I think we had these big moments in 2020, and it was, Black business and such. They have found ways, because this is what people do. They have these think tanks that get together and they craft all of the different ways that these things we don't know about, HBs, all these little bills. Nobody's paying attention to that stuff, but they count on that. So we have all these other distractions. That's why there's so much noise. They keep the noise going. Who's buying Twitter? Like, we're going to get enthralled and just caught up in that. And we're not realizing these things that are
well, it's all in the right time though.
Yeah,
it's all in the right
everything
time.
Is planned out. Somebody is 30 steps ahead of us. They're 30 years ahead of us, thinking about. I'm telling y'all better get ready. Get ready. That's why when we talk about shows like The Handmaid's Tale, or when I get really obsessive and go off the deep end and talking about it, and it's I'm telling you, it is a blueprint. It's a precursor. It is foresight into pick a side. We're ultimately always going to have to pick a side.
Yeah. And
you better figure out what your role is going to be. And it's time.
Yeah.
It's time to fight.
History has always proved that as humans, we can't be trusted. We always burn it to the fucking ground. Oh, we always burn. I hate to excuse my Spanish, but we burn the whole damn thing down. We do. And then cry about it, and go, why did this happen to us? I can't believe this is the world we're in. I don't recognize it. And I'm like, how do you not recognize it?
That's human.
We've only gotten so many signs. But I will say this, you brought up Twitter, and that whole debacle. I know to me, people think it's noise, but I think it's a planned attack. It's part of it. It's part of it, because if you think about Elon Musk, this is a man who was raised in South Africa, who was raised, his father were raised during apartheid. This is not a man who believes in free speech. When a white man says he needs free speech and he's got all the power and all the money, and you're saying you don't have free speech, you're just saying that what you really want to say bothers the majority of the world.
Right.
And what you are saying is that the people that you believe need to be heard, you want to buy this platform so that you give them a platform to be heard. And I'm telling you right now, I'm predicting it's going to become a white nationalist. You think Twitter's bad now?
Yeah.
You think that it's disgusting in the comments and the ugliness that rears its ugly head on that platform? You think that it's ugly? Oh my gosh. The minute this man gets control of this, all of a sudden that orange guy is going to return. All these people who were banned. And what they're going to do is they're going to feed you ads. They're going to feed you propaganda. They're going to feed you all these things to scare you so that you're going to think that Hillary's emails are just, or whoever else, Hunter Biden,
Lord have mercy.
His journeys overseas put us in jeopardy. And you're going to ignore the people who are just putting you in jeopardy every single day. What were your thoughts when you guys heard Hilton? I'll give it to you. What were your thoughts about Twitter?
Anytime you have a consolidation of power in a large arena, either communications or industry or government, I get nervous.
Right.
I'm one of those people that does not believe that billionaires should exist on this planet. I don't think they should be allowed to exist. I think if you hit $1 billion, the governments of the world should say, all right, you win. You can't take in any more money. Your tax rate is going to be so outrageous, because that's more money than anyone could ever spend in 100 lifetimes. People don't understand. We throw that number around, $1 billion, but we don't really understand what $1 million is. Like $1 million can square you and everybody in your immediate family away for the rest of their lives. So imagine 1,000 million. What you could do with that, So here's this guy who's got hundreds of billions of dollars coming in, and he's concerned about free speech, please, like you're at an economic level where money doesn't even have meaning anymore. You're beyond wealth. And so the only thing people who have reached that level of wealth crave beyond money is power. And you don't get that. He's not going to get elected into a government office. He's crazy. He's got too much background. You don't want anybody to do his stuff. But he can hold position of power by the purchasing. And here's what made me suspicious. And this is the part that a lot of people forget. Twitter didn't want to sell. Twitter did not want Elon Musk in. They were putting a poison pill together. They was ready to block him off. They was ready to do everything to get their shareholders and their board to block him from buying a majority stake in Twitter. This man got into a closed door session with each individual member of that board. And by the time he walked out, everybody was like, yay. And so what do you do? What does a multi-billionaire do walking into a room of other billionaires and telling them something that turns their name or turns their mind around like that? Think about it. It's not like he walked in on you and me. We in the five figures, the five, maybe low six figure, people, middle class. Yeah. If he walked in a room, one of us, and we came out singing, yeah, Elon Musk, he probably dropped a couple mil on you. So now you're going to change your world. If you got 10, $20 billion in the bank, you still small change to him. What that man must have said to them is what scares me. The fact that he went from unanimous, no to unanimous yes in a matter of like a week. Like where in life can you do that? You can't even get look, this is 10:35 in the morning at the drive-thru at McDonald's type stuff. You can't get a breakfast biscuit. It's not happening. I don't care how much money. I'll give you $20. I'm sorry, we ain't got no more sausage. It's not happening.
Like they act like the vault shut down and then it's like cool, like at a certain time you can't get the breakfast. Like
McDonald's.
I just want the sausage McMuffin.
I can see him in the little thing.
Give me
just
that
grab that
brown.
Nope, can't do it. So that is what really concerned me, is that this guy went in and made that move. And I really hope that there is some type of transparency or investigation that kind of went into what that process was.
Right.
And then we need to be really closely monitoring what he does with the platform now that he's in charge of it. The very first thing he did,
44 million people.
He changed his blue check to a microphone, a pink microphone. Did you see that? I saw it. Right. Now he's actually throwing out tweets. He's actually having fun. Hey, now I'm going to buy.
He's making a mockery of it all.
He's like, I'm going to buy, what are you talking about? I'm going to buy a Toll House and put more chips in the cookies. Just crazy stuff.
Yeah.
And people are all, following behind it and stuff. Right. Yeah. And so it's all fun and games now, but we coming up on the midterms. There'll be a presidential election coming in a couple years. We going to war. The pandemic ain't gone yet. What is he going to do about the bots that are out there? Is he going to do something about that, or all of a sudden is that going to not be a problem anymore? Is he going to let all those people off the block list, like Cheeto and the white nationalists and all that stuff? Are they going to get back on? We got to be really intelligent about what he's about to do. So
and sadly, I don't think we are. I don't think we're not going to do a damn thing about it.
We're playing Candyland. We ain't even playing freaking chess. We are playing Candyland.
Oh, no.
Shoots and
ladders.
We are playing, yes.
We ain't even playing a board game. We out here playing Simon Says.
That is the sad part. We're sorry. That's what we're playing. We are just.
It's scary, guys. It is so scary. I don't know how. I mean, I know you all have these conversations with real life people. On any given day.
Girl, it's like this.
But to think, yes, it is. It is unbelievable how. And I watch people in passing in everyday life. I mean, of course, we've got social media, so you get to see what people are entrenched in, right? And they'll of course, these people are hilarious to me. The ones that say, my whole life isn't on social media. That's not really real. Well, then you need to get off, because you're okay. So you part of the lie. You're part of the lie when you acting like you're not always out in these restaurants. You're not always on a trip. And I don't see anything else.
Right.
There's nothing else that concerns you. Like we have to start using it in the proper sense of, even if it's just awareness, even if it's just sharing with your closest network that I'm aware. I'm aware of Roe v. Wade. I'm aware what's happening in the White House. I'm aware what's happening in when it comes to education in this country. I'm aware of what's happening, even if it's something overseas. I'm aware. And we get on these bandwagons, and I don't know. I'm just. Can we? I just want to.
What is happening over there?
I don't know.
Gilead collar on him.
I'm like, yes, I
she
am.
Is so she can't clutch her pearls. She's clutching her cape.
I know. I got to clutch my cape, child, because I feel like I just am afraid for us.
Cloak of protection.
I wish it was an invisibility cloak. Right, I got the wrong cloak on.
Oh my God! Where is somebody to create that? But this is the thing. Since we were kids, we've always watched cartoons. We've always watched superhero movies, and the rich, powerful are always the one conspiring to do something. And I don't know why you guys didn't that's for real. That comes out of the minds of someone, because that's how the world has always people, been ran.
And they get inspired by that. They'll see it and think, oh, I want to be a Dr. Evil. I mean, again, these are caricatures, but it's people live their lives that way for real. And especially when you have money, and money gives you power and gives you the ability and the access and to do that, to take on those roles and to personify the bullshit that you are indoctrinated. I mean, just listen, let me say this. So where I am, right? Yes. There's a massive corporation across the street from me.
Uh-oh. Girl, you gonna get us? You gonna get us hemmed up?
That's why I'm not saying no names.
Last BOP broadcast.
You know, the BOP has been discontinued. They heard us.
The screen gonna go out.
The man has been listening the whole time.
Listen, a massive corporation.
Don't get me caught up. I got some things to fight for.
I know, right? But I'm not gonna say no names, but a massive billion-dollar corporation, right? That is, again, has poured a lot of money into, from Trump to just Republican parties, representatives, anyway, countless amounts of dollars. Yeah. So anyway, well, they've got this big space and people gather. It's the downtown area. It's crazy. Anyway, I just captured on film twice, not once, but twice. So one group actually forms a circle. Someone I follow in a Handmaid's Tale group, right? In an official fan group. And so someone posted something like, how does this even happen? Like these newbies who are new to the show, right? Who come in and they're like, I just don't even understand how this happens. So we were sitting out on the lawn one day and I saw this group in a massive circle. And I'm gonna tell you what gave it away is when you see some shirts that have JFK and who was it? Who else was coming back? Because Dallas has been a hub for that crap.
Oh, the conspiracy.
They haven't left. They haven't left the city. Yeah, they're still here. They are.
Yeah, they thought JFK was going to come back a couple of months ago.
Yeah, where is he?
They say Princess Diana is still alive. JFK and JFK Jr. are coming back. So when you see the shirts that they're promoting, you automatically know that's the group. That's one of the many groups, because it's many different groups, right? And we got them here. They are here, honey. When we had the summer of 100 days of protests in 2020, our protesters, they were fierce, but the run-ins were very interesting. And I with my camera would go out and capture these moments. I would look up and just capture these moments of clash or intended clash. They gather and they are indoctrinating, and they're just in these circles talking, and they're walking around, and and I sat and videoed one day. I just zoomed in. I was like, this is how it happens. I had that footage right now. And this was just 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, I captured this. And then just this past weekend, there was a boot camp of sorts. They're dressed in camo, and they're down on the grassy knoll area where JFK was murdered. People run out in the streets. We've got 3 X's in the street, in the middle of the street, and there's 2 together, and then one where the 3 shots where he was hit. And people run out into the middle of the street, and they're like, hot just to get the picture before all the traffic comes. And I'm like, this is bizarre. So I'm watching all of this unfold just this past weekend.
Yes.
And there's a whole boot camp. And this is how it happens. So
the crazy people are out there.
But when I get looked at, because I'm trying to tell people, hashtag Gilead, get ready because it's coming, and you better start figuring out the states. Like I think what's the recent state we just had? I think it's Connecticut. Connecticut just did something incredible, actually, with regard to abortions and women's rights. Incredible. And I was like, y'all get ready because Connecticut's going to be one of our havens, to escape to before we get to Canada. Before we can cross the border. And so they are gathering. It's happening in real life. But we're fellowshipping. We're out doing our own life, living our what we call best life. And we're not focused on any of this because it appears that we would be radicals. Well, you got to be able to be ready for the other radicals on the other side. Right. They don't give a damn about the trips you took to Vegas or to where is everybody going? They're going down to Mexico to Punta Cana.
Tulum. No, I appreciate
you can only go
vacation.
So many times.
I appreciate a good vacation.
Me too.
But I also think you have to be responsible. Yes. You have to know what's going on in the world. You have to understand. Because I always say we're not that far away from any of this. Like, I mean, think about it. Right now, there are bombings happening in the Ukraine. Like, they straight up, Russia just decided, Putin decided, like, I'm gonna go and just start bombing this country and pretend it's a military exercise.
Y'all, they were pulling people out of their homes and shooting them in their head.
Yeah. And it's like everybody knows what's going on. But I feel that we've always, I don't even want to say that people are distracted. I think it's that line, that famous line where people aren't ready for the truth. Yeah. People aren't ready to go, oh my gosh, my rights are being, my rights as a woman, my rights as a human, are being, violated. And this is going to cause X, Y, and Z. This is going to be the repercussion. So even if I'm a woman, I'm not a woman. If I want kids, I don't want kids. I believe in it. I don't believe in it. I'm Christian. I'm not. It doesn't matter because this is going to just affect the economy. It's going to affect people. It's going to keep people poor. This is like, like you said, this was thought up to harm everyone. It's not just, because the human issue. The 1% or 3% or whoever it is that has the type of money to be in power, it's very few and far between. And they are, we know what the agenda is. It's just a matter of people not wanting to know the truth.
Well, and it's not just that, it's that the erosion of the definition of the truth is the real danger here. There used to be, even amongst disagreements with crazy fringes on either side, there was objective truth somewhere in the middle that at some point you can come together and go, okay, the sun comes out in the day, the moon comes out at the night. Let's start there and work our way out to educational policy. And now, half the people think the moon's made of green cheese. Other half think the world is flat, and so we're not even dealing on the same reality level with some of these folks. And here's the thing: it's not the folks gathering and doing the QAnon stuff that bother me. It's the people who are energizing those folks and using those folks to leverage their own power in the media, in industry, in politics, like the Republican Party is doing. They're like, well, if they think JFK is going to come back, and if they think that half the people, on Earth are actually lizard folks, we're not going to disabuse them of that as long as it translates into votes for us. And what that does is that it creates a power, an empowerment, of those people who then become a base that you end up having to respond to. So we don't even have responsible politicians because we don't have a responsible electorate. So we're never gonna legislate people like Elon Musk and Donald Trump and all that. Those people are above the law. They will never see. Trump is never going to see a day in jail. I'm sorry, he's guilty. He's all that stuff, but he is of a status that's going to keep him out of prison no matter what he does. Short of he could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and still end up free. You know what I mean? Yeah. But we don't have a responsible electorate that is able to come in. For those of us who are mostly in the Democratic Party, who believe in pro-choice and who are, active on these issues, are not radically active in what we consider to be reality.
We don't gather on a Monday just to like
No.
sit and do a circle. Like we don't even
No.
want to go. We barely show up to the primaries.
No.
We barely show up. We show up for the one big election every 4 years.
Midterms.
Yeah, we don't even care what judges are in. We don't care who's elected as a judge.
Don't care about who's the dog catcher, state's attorney, secretary of state.
Hilton, I want to comment.
We don't care about the soldiers that are gonna, push a
not if there's
agenda.
no draft.
Right.
Yeah.
Listen,
right.
I'm curious about just the in theory, the idea that we don't need to be worried really about the groups that are gathering. I personally, again, having seen it and listened and watched, and knowing how, see, the politicians aren't pulling the triggers. It's those groups of people that are. Right. Those are the more scary people. And that's the reason why we should be meeting. We should be active. We should be, because listen, a politician is only as powerful as his followers.
Well, they're the soldiers. Like that's the scary
so
part. They're the army that's gonna,
and if they
do the radical thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I feel like they are the more dangerous.
It goes back to that, man. They're the ones that are gonna show up and be ready to shoot the president-elect or the governor.
Right,
or the,
There's always going to be unhinged people that are going to be out there looking for a cause to do something crazy, right? And
but they're in mass.
Definitely, and that is definitely happening with these groups that you're describing. But they're everywhere, and they've always been there. It's just that now they've got, a political and an authority structure that is catering to them and giving them permission, not just giving them permission to do these things or the perception of permission to do these things, but they're also being given targets. So somebody goes, like if a Republican goes against Trump during, the election fight, or who's, the big steal, blah, blah, blah. And a Republican Secretary of State in Georgia is saying, no, I've counted the votes 4 times in an audit, Trump lost. Then you have some irresponsible politician that then says something that gets people on that person's lawn who are going to do something crazy. Yeah. So my thing is that we're looking at kind of like, is the dog wagging the tail, or is the tail wagging the dog at this point?
Right.
And it is this crazy power structure, because we don't have listen, everybody here knows somebody who's either crazy Hotep on this side or crazy QAnon on that side. There's people who are divorced from the debate and the reality in the center of the room that you can't change their mind on anything.
Yeah, so we can't give them sanity.
There's nothing you can say to those people that's going to disabuse them of whatever craziness that they've convinced themselves of. But we do have an opportunity to change the course of government and the discourse, with education, with the government, with the media, that kind of feeds that. And that's the only place we can live. I would love to tell you, girl, go out there and break up that circle and get a fire hose and all this stuff.
Yeah.
Them people ain't going
well,
anywhere.
no, it's not like, so much
whatever.
that. I just feel like if there was something to counter that, you know what I mean? And I could, and listen, and I've seen it happen. And they always say it's funny because it's only when it matters most. And I feel like,
it's not until
when
it
matters most.
Our backs against the wall and we're like,
right.
That's the only time we fight.
Yeah.
And that's the only time, like that energy we had when we saw George Floyd, we saw him, his life just like travel out of his body, and we heard his pleads and crying. It took something so horrific,
right,
for this young generation and all. I mean, thousands upon thousands, people all over the world were marching, at that moment, and said, I cannot sit here, but you got to think about it. It's like, we need that energy and more, because you think about, we marched, we did. And the guy went to jail, but it's like, none of the laws have been changed. None of the cops still have a union that is ironclad and is going to protect them from anything. I've
said this, Karen, and directly to your point, the difference between Democrats and I consider Democrats everyone else but Republicans. And that's a weird thing to say.
The
like
everyone and the rest of us,
but the Republicans, I put in the Democratic tent. The Republicans came together with their Tea Party initiative back in the 90s, late 90s, or 2000s, when Barack Obama came on the scene. obviously all of a sudden they were cared about fiscal responsibility and, you know, all this sort of stuff. But they actually correlated around voter registration, picking candidates, running primaries to get these crazy people into office. And then there's a media, you know, structure that got fed by that. And so there was a lasting effect because this minority even of elderly white people got together and marched. I never saw a million Tea Partiers anywhere, not even at Trump's election, right? So we know that they're numerically, you know, not there. Meanwhile, superimpose that after, you know, the Black Lives Matter, you know, protests and things like that around the George Floyd, you know, video and the verdicts that were going to be coming from that. You know, nobody was registering voters. There was no politicians that were jumping in front of those crowds saying, send me to Washington. I'm going to defund the police, or I'm going to reform, you know, the judicial system or law enforcement and blah, 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 blah. Nobody got in front of that. So once the noise and the heat and the energy went away, there was nothing to show for it.
Nothing.
Except some riot footage and some more polarization, because all it did is it took the right-wing people and they ran with it this way, and the left-wing people ran with it that way. And then the average person is sitting here in the middle. We do not organize in the way we used to. We don't have leaders. Who is the black leader around BLM? Nobody knows.
No one knows.
There's no corporate headquarters, no phone number, there's no email list.
Nothing.
It's this amorphous.
We don't have a Martin Luther King
thing.
Or we don't have
nobody. And that's why I laugh anytime I'm in debates, and I do get in debates with Republicans who's like, "Oh yeah, the BLM organized this and this." I'm like, "Who the hell is BLM?" Right. I'm like, "It's not even a tattoo at this point. Like it's a thought process, it's a philosophy. There's no headquarters for the BLM. We're not organizing anything.
Yeah, actually, there is. It's a mansion.
Inform me because I, you know what, if somebody said that I had to go to the BLM headquarters and collect $1 million check, I'd be broke the rest of my life because I wouldn't know who to go to, who's in charge. But that's my point. We don't organize to the point where there are leaders that emerge from our movement that go into the chambers of government.
Let me say this.
And make the changes that they did in the 60s and 70s.
Well,
the only thing we've had close to that is Stacey Abrams. And those women that kind of did what they did in Georgia. Those are
there's
the only
a few
ones.
more. I mean, here in Texas, we've got Lee Merritt. Hopefully we can get him elected to be our AG, you know, and take the place of the ridiculousness we've had for so long here. So, I mean, there are some, and it's moved, I don't know, across the board. Of course, everyone pays attention to what happened in Georgia. So yes, a Stacey Abrams is a household name at this point. And I think that's amazing. But we do have an organization, but I think people, again, we went through a phase, especially in the late 80s, 90s, where times was good and now we done made it and we done came up. So we were the kids, and it was when you had something
we're
like
the Cosby kids of the 80s. We came through.
We didn't
realize that Bill Cosby was my daddy. We like, ooh.
Don't start another show, Karen.
I know,
don't start another show. Don't start another show.
It wasn't until
I'm here to stir that pot. I'm here to stir it up. What's that song that Patti LaBelle used to have? She used to stir it up. I'm the pot stirrer.
Ma'am.
You know me.
Oh my God.
I'm the official. I get the
now that's stuck in my head. Look, Dana, we got to play that on the outro. We got to play Stir It Up from Patti LaBelle on the outro of the show.
No, ma'am.
Put that in. It's done.
But listen, I don't know about you all, but in my adult life, I joined the NAACP and to be a member. You know, you have a membership due, you know, for an annual membership. And I have a card carrying NAACP member. And I think that going back to how we grew up in an era where, hell, and when I was a senior in high school, or in my high school years, we had 6 cars. There was, and my little sister was the baby. She couldn't drive. So, and it was 6 of us total. So we had more cars than we could, you know, we had people who could drive the cars. And that was my parents doing, of course, but it was the economy at that time. And that is associated with struggle. Or we must not be struggling. Like the fights have been fought. The struggles have been conquered and solved and resolved and all of that. Well, when you go through so many years, I mean, it's now 3 decades later, and it's like, whoa. Like we really, and now in our grown lives, we are seeing, and as a parent, I am seeing now, like I said at the top of the hour, my child now has less rights than me and anyone before her. And that is insane when we're supposed to be moving forward. So now my kid marches October 1st last year in 2021. We both marched. I was in full garb, and she made her own posters and signs. We did the women's march, and it was massive all over the country. And Dallas was a hub, a big site for marching. And so it was, she has to be involved in those things. And it's now a resurgence, and either we're going to make them pay attention, but this is going to affect, it's going to wake it up.
You're right.
But we still have the organizations. It's just, we don't pay as close attention to them because we feel like we have overcome.
We have the organizations. NAACP is as old as time. We know it's always there. It probably always will be there. It's that with the new generation that's not necessarily plugged into the NAACP, is not plugged into SNCC. You know, it's not plugged into all of these
ACLU.
Yeah, they're not connected with that. These new movements, like what we saw with BLM and, you know, even Me Too, you know, there are not actual leaders that emerge from those movements as products of it. Now, you know, you talk about Stacey Abrams, you know, she's been in politics a lot longer than the George Floyd protests or anything. Now, she actually ended up in front of this in a way that other politicians were not. And she was very effective in that way. But in the history of this country around movements, someone literally walked forward in the line, walked up on a stage and said, I am going to go to the state auditor's office, if you elect me, or the alderman's office, or your city council, or whatever, vote for me, and I'm going to vote for you. And you have this rhythm where the next generation of leaders who go into politics are the ones that reflect, you know, the people that, you know, are part of their generation. This generation doesn't have those folks. Those folks are not emerging from the marches. They're there. The structures are there.
You didn't get the Martin Luther King who said, I am going to help lead the civil rights protest. I'm going to help organize that. You're absolutely right.
The lobbying to get the legislation passed. It's going to change the laws that are going to, you know, allow our students to integrate the schools and all this sort of stuff. And I don't know why that is. I don't know why there's not somebody stepping forward as a product of these movements. There's millions and millions and millions of people in the streets.
I have an idea.
And not one person came and said, I'm the BLM candidate. BLM, vote for me, and I will go for it, and I will take this message to the people.
Again, money has distracted some of these people.
Absolutely.
The money has distracted some of these potential leaders and has discredited their organizations because they've allowed the money to kind of sway, you know, the best decision. But you're right. Because, I mean, if you think about it, Martin Luther King had no money. He had celebrities who said, we will take care of you. You just go continue to do what you do because they listen to you. And you are able to preach this the best. Now we're in a different age where the money, I think, has distracted some of these potential leaders, and they have bought mansions. They are going on trips. They're allowing the distraction to take away from the bigger, broader picture. Because if you really want to be someone like this, you have to position yourself to where you can't. The narrative can't be changed because you've you've spent some of that money, you know, or I don't know what it is. We don't know, allegedly, supposedly, you know,
these are theories.
Because you know they're
what we think.
Well, and you also know that there's always going to be a certain a group of people who are going to do nothing. They're going to do nothing else but try to discredit you and what you're trying to do, especially if you're trying to do something good. If you're trying to if they feel like you're getting a little too powerful and a little too loud, they're going to spend every waking moment to catch you slipping. And we have the devices, we've got social media and these things that can make you think that 30,000 emails are dangerous.
Karan, do you think that Martin Luther King could have emerged and have been the figure that he was in the 60s today in the era of Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram? Yeah. Hell no. Let's be honest. We know the man had extramarital affairs while he was out, you know, but because there was not this social media, you know, noise echo chamber that could have been put out, the FBI didn't have the means to say, hey, we're going to ruin your reputation to all your followers because we're going to put it out on these channels. There wasn't a Sean Hannity on every other channel just waiting to just keep beating the drum of how I mean, he was the most hated man in America at the time of his death.
Exactly. That's the
but just imagine if he had been that.
Yeah,
exactly. So just imagine that with the social media that we have today, it would have happened in such a way that it would have shortchanged his message. He became hated in such a way that it didn't affect him until after a lot of what he had done was successful.
Yeah.
And if we had Twitter, we had Instagram, then he would have never made it past the first march. He would have got they might have got the bus boycott, but once that boycott was successful, somebody would have had him in QAnon,
but I think you answered the big question though, Hilton, right there. That was the answer. It's very different. We are in different times. It calls for
we got to learn how to play chess instead of playing Candyland.
You're right. We do. We do.
Well, well, what makes me mad? I don't want to cut you off, but I just want to say that you're absolutely right. But if it wasn't possible, then the Republicans wouldn't be doing it. If nobody was emerging anywhere because of Instagram and Twitter and all this stuff, then I'd be like, oh, okay, well, they just blunted the whole political system. But Republicans keep getting these old white men to kind of jump in front of these movements. And these mugs got bad stuff. I mean, I don't know if you're paying attention to this Cawthorn guy in North Carolina. But like his people are ride or die. They're like, this dude is dressed in lingerie. He might be having a gay affair that ended his marriage 8 months in. He's got this sexual assault stuff. He lied about his car accident.
Well, they're all sexual predators.
So I'm thinking like, okay, well, where's our person who's flawed that we're going to ride or die for? And be like, okay, you know what? This person is flawed. This person did some bad stuff, but you know what? They're going to get into the halls of Congress and they're going to vote to put in the right Supreme Court justice. They're going to vote against proper gun laws and all this stuff. And we'll deal with this other stuff on another page. But this stuff here is why we're going to support them,
right?
And we don't have that nuance.
Figure that out. Yeah,
we're not there.
That we can't.
I just think we play a different way.
Yeah,
we just play a different way.
Candyland. We're playing Candyland. That's the difference.
And here's the thing. Well,
Candyland against Thanos. Like, we are
put us against Thanos.
Yeah, but Thanos dies. Everybody. Spoiler alert.
And so that's the hope. So we can talk about this for 80 hours. We're kind of at the end of this, guys. But that's the hope. I hope, if nothing else, this conversation has sparked, has taught you a few things, opened your eyes to some other stuff. But I hope, if anything, it's energized us, because if anything, we should be mad that we don't have the leader that we need. We should be angry that these things happen, and in a leak, in the middle of the night, these people are planning to change your life. We should be upset about that. And if nothing else, I hope that this has energized you to want to become
driving me to drink, Karen. They're driving me to drink.
They're driving you to drink. I hope it doesn't drive you to drink, but it drives you to go to the polls. Yeah. It drives you to register to vote.
I'm a drink at the polls.
And listen.
Yes.
And if they don't do anything that you just said, Karen, here's what they need to do next. If you're not going to do anything she just said, just get fitted for your cloak. Get fitted.
My God.
Figure out where you're gonna be on the spectrum
under his eye.
Of Gilead. Yes, blessed day. Under his eye. Learn the phrases.
Yes.
Go learn your role and figure it out. Now,
I'd rather be a resistor than to be someone who. Yeah.
I'm Mayday. We are Mayday. But be ready. But
if anything, just care about your life a little bit more, because if you've got children, if you've got dreams of living a certain life, you've got to fight for it. Yeah. I think that's, if nothing else, that's what we've learned. So continue to watch the BOP, because we're crazy. That was a heavy hour, but I loved it.
Shake it up now. I don't have to beg or borrow. I'm not. We playing it. There it is. Play it. Oh,
no, we're not.
DJ Dana, she got it.
Can we get a clearance on that remix? We need a remix, because we ain't got no money to pay for that.
I'll pay it. I got $30 cash money.
Why
am I talk to me, Patty?
Yes. Guys, thank you so much. Thank you so much for tuning in. We love you. The BOP, the BLERD official podcast. We are here to talk nerdy stuff, political stuff. We're going to talk about it all. And we can't wait for you to tune in next time. Bye.
Bye, y'all. Be safe.
Tune in every Tuesday for a new episode of the BOP, the BLERD Official Podcast.